Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The room smelled like money and lies. Brass medals gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. And at the center of it all stood General Arthur Kane, polished and bulletproof, his smile staged for legacy. Riley stood at the back, unnoticed. No camera turned her way. No microphone reached for her voice. She clutched a folded photo in her coat pocket. Her father, Captain David Tran, smiling in uniform. It still smelled faintly like gun oil and printer ink, the way he used to come home after long shifts. She hadn't spoken to anyone in the room. She wasn't on the guest list. But she was done asking for permission. The ceremony droned on. For exemplary leadership in drone warfare, integrity, and crisis command. Riley's jaw tightened. Crisis command? You made my dad kill innocent people and then buried the footage. The applause rose as Kane stepped forward. He gripped the podium. To lead is to protect. And to protect, sometimes, you must make impossible choices. You made him choose between his soul and your orders. Riley's fingers twitched. The laptop in her backpack was silent now. But not for long. She had 72 hours to finish the upload. The drop would be global. The timing would be perfect. But the war had already begun. And it started in this room, with the lie that stole her father's name and gave it to a butcher. Before we move ahead, I just want to say, your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 10,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. The house still smelled like him. Faint cologne, stale coffee, old leather, the scent of memory etched in dust. Riley knelt by her father's bed, pulling out box after box of forgotten things. Manuals, reports, medals. Nothing new. Nothing real. She was about to give up, until her hand hit the wooden panel under the frame. Hollow. She pried it open with a screwdriver. A narrow compartment. Inside, a sock rolled up tight. Her hands trembled as she unraveled it. A hard drive. Scratched. Unlabeled. She stared at it. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Back in her dorm, she bypassed the password screen using a Linux build her dad had once helped her code. He always said, if you want the truth, write the lockpick yourself. The drive unlocked. 10 folders. One labeled Risk. She clicked. Video files. Audio logs. Internal memos. Drone footage with encrypted overlays. She opened one at random. A camera drone sweeping over a sandy village. Children running. Then boom. The screen flashed white. A building collapsed. Black smoke. Screams in Pashto. Then, audio crackle. Captain Tran, confirmed target. A second voice, her father's. Sir, this is not the compound listed in the mission brief. Fire. That's an order. Her blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. She'd heard it on the news. Seen it at her dad's funeral. General Kane. Riley paused the video. Silence screamed in her ears. Her father hadn't been killed in an accident. He'd been eliminated. She didn't cry, didn't speak, just stared at the hard drive, and whispered, "You died trying to tell the truth." Riley didn't sleep that night. She sat in front of 3 monitors, the drone footage on loop. Each time it played, the horror sharpened. The compound wasn't a target. It was a school. A teacher had stepped out moments before the strike. Children were visible near the windows. And Kane had ordered the hit like it was just Tuesday. Her father had argued. Pleaded. Sir, I strongly recommend a hold. These are civilians. But Kane didn't hesitate. Take the shot, Captain. That's not a request. Then came the flash. Her dad's voice never returned after that. Riley dug deeper. She cross-referenced the metadata. The time code showed the strike happened at 14:07 Universal Time Coordinated. She opened the official records. Mission logs. No operation listed at that time. No drone in the air. No acknowledged action. Her hands curled into fists. They scrubbed it, wiped it like it never happened. Only her father had kept a copy. Hidden, encrypted, knowing he might die for it. She searched for the drone ID in the military registry. The serial number returned non-operational. Dead drone. Dead captain. Dead witnesses. But not a dead daughter. She uploaded the footage to an encrypted locker. Air-gapped the drive. Backed up every file across 5 darknet clouds. She reached out to a ghost contact from college, Levi, ex-activist, now a paranoid data hoarder. Riley, need to ghost a file. Military grade. Possible whistleblower. Levi, Jesus. Okay. Tell me you didn't get it from Langley. Riley, worse. My dad. She closed her laptop, heart hammering. Outside, police sirens echoed far away. She stared into the dark and said it aloud. For the first time, he killed my father. I'm going to kill his name. The next morning, sunlight poured through Riley's window like an accusation. Too bright. Too warm. Too normal. She hadn't slept. Only watched the footage again and again until the faces burned into her mind. The boy in the red shirt running. The teacher shouting. Her father's voice cracking under pressure. She showered in silence, hands trembling. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Red eyes. Jaw locked. A girl too young to be this angry. Then she dressed like armor, hoodie, jeans, black boots, and stepped into the war. At a rundown cafe on the outskirts of D.C., she met Levi. He sat alone at a corner booth, drumming his fingers against a cracked table, eyes darting toward every sound like he owed someone money. Riley Trant, he said, smirking without joy. Didn't expect to see you on this side of the firewall. She slid into the booth and dropped a thumb drive on the table. Don't talk. Just look. He plugged it into his modified laptop. As the video played, his face went blank. No jokes. No smirk. Just quiet horror. When it ended, he looked up. This is the kind of thing that gets people killed. Someone already did, she said. My dad. Levi closed the laptop slowly, like it was ticking. Riley, this isn't just a leak. This is a kill switch for someone's legacy. You sure you want to be the one who flips it? Her stare didn't waver. Kane ordered it. They buried the bodies and handed him a medal. You think I'll let that stand? He sighed. All right, we'll ghost it properly. Dead man triggers, spread to 6 nodes. No trace. You're in? I'm in, he said. Then quieter. But once this goes live, you're not Riley Tran anymore. You're nobody. You ready to become that? She paused, then nodded once. No one silences my father. Not anymore. 3 days later, General Kane was front-page news, again. Not for the war crime. Not yet. But for a glowing piece in the Post. America's reluctant hero, the stoic grace of Arthur Kane. Riley stared at the article in disgust. The headline made her physically ill. Kane, posed like a war god, arms folded, an American flag blurred in the background. He's building his mythology, Levi muttered. He was sprawled across a mattress on Riley's apartment floor, tapping away on his custom rig. Every pixel of this is PR pre-cleanse. Makes him harder to hit. Riley tossed the paper aside. Then we hit harder. Levi raised an eyebrow. I pulled some internal metadata from the drone's black box. It's dirty. The logs were doctored, but the original data is still ghosted in the firmware. I can prove it flew that day and fired. Riley's heart jumped. Can you tie the strike to Kane directly? Not yet. But I did pull something wild. He spun the laptop around. It showed a list of clearance overrides from that day. One was labeled Whitehall Alpha Protocol, signed A. Kane. Riley leaned in, voice tightening. What the hell is Whitehall? Classified ops chain. Top tier. Authorization for autonomous kill switches. Black ops only. So my dad tried to stop a strike, and Kane used Whitehall to override him. Levi nodded. If we expose this protocol, it proves command abuse. Riley stood, pacing. We need more. Something they can't spin. She grabbed her phone, opened the last voicemail her dad had left. His voice came through, warm and tired. Hey, kiddo. Got back late. Just wanted to hear your voice. I'll call in the morning. Love you. She swallowed hard. He called me the night before the strike. He knew something was wrong. Levi's tone shifted. If your dad had doubts, he might have told someone else. We find that person, we might find everything. They started with names. Riley combed through old messages, call logs, deployment reports, anything her father might have touched in those final weeks. Finally, a recurring name appeared in multiple entries: Chief Warrant Officer Dana Hall. Her father had emailed her 3 days before the incident. The subject line: need to talk. Urgent. Riley tracked her down, recently discharged, now teaching at a local flight academy. That afternoon, Riley stood outside a hangar in suburban Maryland, heart pounding. She was about to knock when the door opened from inside. A woman stepped out, late 30s, hard eyes, buzzcut grown out into curls. You trans daughter? She asked before Riley could speak. Riley nodded. Hall stepped aside. Get in. We talk inside. They sat in a break room with old coffee and faded photos on the wall. Hall didn't offer small talk. I knew he didn't crash, she said. Kane's team fed that life fast. But I couldn't prove it. Riley placed the hard drive on the table. I can. Hall exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for a year. Goddamn. He told me he was scared. Said command was pushing him to greenlight something off record. Civilians. He said. If anything happens to me, someone has to know. He tried to say no. He did say no. Once. Then they threatened him. Next day, he was dead. Riley looked at her, eyes burning. Why didn't you speak up? Hall looked away. I had 2 kids. Mortgage. And no proof. They'd bury me too. Silence thickened the air. Then Hall said quietly, but I still have my flight logs. My comms backups. I can verify he made the call. That it wasn't a malfunction. Riley reached across the table. Help me finish what he started. Hall nodded. You get this in front of the world, kid? I'll make sure no one can say it was a glitch. Riley's grip tightened. They'll say it was revenge, she whispered. Hall replied, let them. Long as the truth burns through the lies. The rain fell like a curtain the day of the funeral. Rows of uniforms stood stiff in polished shoes, saluting a man they never really knew. Flags rippled. Rifles fired blanks into the sky like apologies too late. Riley sat in the front row, back straight, fist clenched around a tissue she hadn't used. Not a single tear had fallen, not because she didn't want to cry, but because the lies left no room for grief. General Kane had spoken that day. She remembered every word like glass under her skin. Captain Tran served with honor, courage, and unshakable duty. His death, though tragic, was not in vain. He died protecting freedom. Now, she replayed that moment on a screen. She'd ripped it from a live stream archive. Zoomed in. Studied his expression. His smile wasn't mourning. It was ownership. Levi entered the room behind her, holding a flash drive. Got a clean copy of Dana Hall's flight logs, he said. Matches your dad's timeline. Confirms the drone launched. Confirms override from command. Then the funeral was a performance, Riley said bitterly. It always is, Levi muttered. But this time, we write the script. She nodded slowly. We leaked this during his promotion ceremony. Maximum exposure. He's about to be handed the Medal of Honor. We're about to torch the frame they want to put him in. Levi looked at her. Are you ready for what comes next? No, she said honestly. But I wasn't ready to bury my father either. Her hand hovered over the play button again. This time, she didn't watch Kane speak. She focused on her father's coffin being lowered into the ground, a box of silence, carried by ceremony, buried by fiction. Not anymore. Now, truth had a pulse, and it was beating louder. The drop site was a closed system, air-gapped, off-grid, powered by a solar rig Levi had built himself in the hills of Virginia. They called it Ghost Point. It's invisible to conventional networks, Levi explained as they hiked up a wooded trail. No GPS. No signal. Just drive access and local sync. And once it's there? Riley asked. He tapped the box strapped to his back. It waits. Until we push the signal live from anywhere. A single keystroke, and boom. 6 mirrors, 1 public drop, all tied to press inboxes and UN investigators. They reached the cabin. Inside, servers, cables, cooling fans humming like heartbeats. Riley laid out everything. The drone footage, the override protocol, Hall's logs, audio evidence, her father's final voicemails. Each file tagged, encrypted, time-stamped. This is his legacy, she whispered. Not some folded flag. This. Levi paused. You still sure you want your name attached to this? She thought about it. The safe choice? Stay hidden. Let the leak speak for itself. Vanish. But safe hadn't saved her father. I want them to know who's speaking, she said. They should be afraid of what happens when they kill good men. He nodded solemnly. Then we add your name to the statement. Full send. They uploaded everything. A small light blinked on the terminal. Ghost ready. Outside, the wind shifted. Trees whispered like old souls turning over in their graves. As they left the cabin, Riley stopped, looked back once, then said, We're not the ghosts anymore. They are. That night, Riley couldn't sleep again. Not because of doubt, but because she was waiting. She knew what came after truth. Retaliation. She was brushing her teeth when the apartment lights flickered. Then, silence. Her phone buzzed. Unknown caller. She didn't answer. 10 seconds later, a message arrived. We know what you have. You don't know who you're playing with. Walk away. Levi burst into the room holding his laptop. They hit my firewall. Direct. No scan. No probe. Just boom. Like they knew exactly where to go. They did, Riley said, heart racing. That message, they're inside the net now. Then something clicked in her memory. A name she'd seen in the override logs, Marcus Neely, a civilian contractor listed as external systems consultant. She searched him. Nothing. Wiped clean. Neely's not military, she said. He's off books. A cleaner. A digital eraser, Levi murmured. Used when you want something burned with no smoke. Riley stared at the screen, pulse pounding. They'd seen her now, which meant they'd try to erase her too. But this time, she wasn't alone. She had the drive, the plan, the proof, and the will to finish what her father started, no matter how many cleaners came for her. She stepped toward the window, staring into the night. Then, softly, let them come. 2 black sedans waited outside Riley's apartment the next morning. They didn't knock. They didn't rush. They watched. Riley saw them from her window and froze. Levi checked the security cams. Unmarked. No plates. No blink. Spooks. Cleaners, Riley muttered. Kane sent them. No. Kane's team doesn't do subtle. This is bigger. These guys? They clean without asking why. Someone way up the food chain is scared. She backed away from the window. Her heart pounded like it was trying to warn her. Inside her chest was fear, but laced with a thrill she didn't recognize until now. She was dangerous to them. We need to move. Now, Levi said, yanking cords and stuffing drives into a duffel. I'm not leaving the data, she snapped. You're not, he replied, sliding a hard shell into her bag. Triple copy, motion trap encrypted. You walk, it walks. You stop, it wipes. They left through the back stairwell, moving fast, quiet. Half a block away, a man in a navy windbreaker raised a phone. No emotion. Riley didn't hesitate. She shoved Levi into an alley. Seconds later, the first explosion hit. A car erupted in flame behind them. Sirens. Screams. She looked back once. The window of her old apartment gone in smoke. They weren't going to knock, Levi said breathlessly. No, Riley said. They were going to erase me. She clutched the drive tight. Let's go dark. That night, they vanished into the metro system. No cards. No signals. Just movement. Kane had declared war. She was answering it. They found shelter with one of Levi's oldest contacts, a conspiracy theorist named Arlo who ran a pirate radio station from the basement of a condemned church. The building stank of mold and gasoline, but the walls were lined with lead and hope. No signal in. No signal out. Arlo raised an eyebrow at Riley. So this is the truth bomb I've been hearing whispers about. You're not broadcasting it, she said coldly. Just helping me prep it. He chuckled. Kid, I've spent 20 years waiting for a real whistle to blow. You just handed me a megaphone. She handed him the files. He whistled low. Whitehall Protocol. Override signatures. OSH*T. This is beyond military. This is state doctrine. What does that mean? Riley asked. It means Kane didn't act alone. These orders were shadow-backed, signed off by clearance levels above even Joint Chiefs. Levi stared. Are you saying the government authorized a strike on civilians and pinned it on Tran? No, Arlo said. I'm saying the government approved the strike knowing it would kill civilians. Kane just pulled the trigger. Riley sat down hard. Her father's death wasn't just a rogue decision. It was policy. Arlo kept flipping. Wait. This name, Neely. Marcus Neely. He's in the gray ledger. The what? List of non-official operatives used for deniable acts. Disavowed but funded. No birth certificate, no family, no trail. The only reason he's on here? Someone tagged him by mistake 6 years ago during an embassy breach. Can we find him? Riley asked. No, Arlo said grimly. But he can find you. The room went still. Then we call him out, Riley said. In the open. Drag his name into the light. He wants silence, we give him noise. Levi looked at her. That's war. It already is. 3 days underground. Riley didn't sleep. She spent every waking hour turning data into death blows, audio splits, metadata overlays, timeline reconstructions. The case had to be unshakable. Levi wired the ghost node to respond to one command, a short-coded phrase. If she texted that phrase from any burner, the system would launch the drop live. But something gnawed at her. Neely. The name echoed like a shadow that didn't belong to anybody. Then one night, Arlo burst into the basement, eyes wide. He made contact. Who? Riley and Levi said in unison. Neely. He sent a message. Old HM relay. Full analog. No trace. Arlo handed her a torn printout. Stop now. Last warning. Your father disobeyed and died with honor. You? You'll die with no name. Riley's fist clenched. He knows what we're doing. He knows we're close. Levi stepped back. We need to accelerate the drop. No, Riley said. He wants me scared. I'm not. She turned to Arlo. You said someone once flagged Neely. During the embassy breach. Arlo nodded slowly. Find the flagger. Whoever saw through his ghost routine. Arlo hesitated. You realize anyone who messed with Neely is either dead or hiding. Then we go where they'd hide. She opened her laptop and typed, Project Phantom, Archive Inquiry, Eyes Only Tag 2981. She found something. A retired data tech named Elena Graves, last known location, New Orleans. A survivor. A crack in the armor. Book us transport, Riley said, standing. We find Graves. Then we take Neely down. Levi looked at her, half in awe, half in fear. You're not scared of dying, are you? Riley stared ahead, fire in her eyes. I'm scared of him winning. New Orleans was a haze of noise and memory. The streets pulsed with brass music and neon, but Riley wasn't here for beauty. She was here to find a ghost wrapped in flesh. Elena Graves. Once a signal tech for the Joint Surveillance Command. Now, allegedly dead from a car accident, except the file had inconsistencies. One mismatched blood type. No autopsy. They knew that trick. Fake a body. Bury a file. Arlo's search gave them an address, a defunct bookstore in the 9th Ward, boarded up since Katrina. No phone. No mail. But a heat signature popped up twice a week for food delivery. Ready? Levi asked as they approached the cracked facade. Riley nodded. She saw through Neely once. If she's still breathing, she's still hiding. She knocked 3 times. Pause. 2 more. Nothing. Then the door opened just a sliver. A barrel appeared first. I don't want company, a woman's voice barked. Elena. Riley said calmly. I'm David Tran's daughter. I know about Neely. About the drone strike. I need your help. Silence. Then the door opened wider. Elena looked older than her file photo, gaunt, gray-streaked hair, eyes that had seen too much. But she held the gun steady like it was an extension of her breath. You shouldn't have come here, she said, stepping back. Inside, the bookstore was gutted. Shelves held server parts and outdated tech manuals. The air smelled of solder and mildew. I've been off-grid for a decade, Elena said. Because of one name. Marcus Neely. He's hunting me now, Riley replied. Because I have the files my father died for. Elena's eyes narrowed. Then we don't have time. She walked over to his safe under the floorboards and opened it. Inside, a black drive marked failsafe/Neely kill, unredacted. You want to bring him down, she said. This is where the silence ends. They sat under a flickering desk lamp in the back of the bookstore. Rain began hammering the roof above them, but the room held its own tension, thick, unspoken, electric. Riley stared at the unmarked drive. You kept this all these years? She asked. I kept it because no one else could, Elena said. After Neely erased 3 of my team, I knew I was next. So I became no one. Levi plugged the drive into his secure laptop, fingers tense. Lines of code poured down the screen. Audio, video, a folder labeled Operation Gray Chamber. What is this? Levi asked. Elena answered. It's not just a strike. It's a template. The government created an algorithm to simulate justification, fabricate legal grounds after civilian strikes. A fake intel trail. Drones would hit, and paperwork would backdate. Riley's voice dropped. They created a machine to wash blood. Elena nodded grimly. Your father found a hole in that system. That's why he died. Levi clicked a file, a video call recording between Kane and a shadowed figure with voice modulation. Operation Gray Chamber has failed containment. Tran won't comply. Then terminate with operational camouflage. Make it mechanical failure. Fast. Riley gripped the table. That's the order. The kill command. They had the proof. Then another video. A young Elena, on a base camera, arguing with Neely in a hallway. You can't just erase people. You want to protect your family, Elena? Neely snapped. Then forget you saw anything. The camera cut out in static. Riley leaned back, breath shallow. They've built an entire ecosystem of lies. Automated. Self-cleaning. And Kane was just a cog. Elena nodded. But break one cog loud enough, and the whole system shakes. Riley's voice steadied. Then we shake it till it breaks. They left New Orleans before sunrise. Elena came with them, wrapped in layers and paranoia. She wore a disguise, carried her own weapon, and refused to sit near windows. They'll know I resurfaced, she muttered. Neely has eyes everywhere. If we're using the failsafe, we only get one shot. Back at the hideout, Arlo's bunker felt tighter. Not just from the extra body, from the pressure closing in. They weren't just holding information now. They were holding a kill switch to a covert war machine. Riley stood before the whiteboard Levi had scribbled full of timelines, chain of command flowcharts, and key evidence tags. She tapped a red box labeled Drop Moment. We hit them the night of Kane's Medal of Honor ceremony. National coverage. All eyes. He becomes the face of the lie. The whole machine crumbles from the top down. Elena frowned. Unless they cut the feed. Or intercept the drop. They won't, Levi said. I've set deadman mirrors across press sites, watchdogs, and public blockchain. Once we go, there's no stopping it. Arlo added, we push this live, and Kane burns. But the people above him? The ones who let this happen? They'll come hunting. They're already hunting, Riley said coldly. Let them come. A knock. They froze. Not the door. The rear window. Arlo peered through the camera. A silhouette. Tall. Still. Face obscured. Jesus, he whispered. That's Neely. Panic flickered through the room. Riley didn't move. She walked to the laptop, hands steady. She typed, command, ghost launch, ready. Everyone down. They hit the lights. Guns out. No sound. No breath. Outside, the shadow lingered. Then stepped back into the dark. Gone. Levi whispered, he knows we're ready. Riley's reply was a whisper carved in stone. So are we. The next day, the government made its move not with assassins, but with headlines. Captain David Tran linked to unauthorized drone leak. Officials deny cover-up. It was everywhere. CNN. BBC. Even Reddit threads began spinning. Levi stormed into the safe house, tossing a tablet onto the table. They just buried your father again. Riley read the screen, eyes narrowing. They're trying to flip the narrative, make him the villain. They're painting him as unstable, Elena added, saying he accessed restricted zones without clearance, that his crash was suicide. Riley's voice was a whisper, dangerous and steady. They're laying the groundwork. So when we drop the real truth, it just looks like a rogue daughter spinning her dead dad's delusions. They're scared, Arlo said. Smear campaigns are the last move before panic. No, Riley replied. The last move is force. That night, she proved herself right. They came without sirens, 4 men in tactical gear, silent as ghosts, through the trees surrounding the safe house. But Arlo had rigged motion triggers. By the time the intruders stepped onto the back deck, Riley and Levi were already in place, power cut, windows sealed, cameras rolling. Click. Shotgun cocked. Elena stood in the hallway, barrel pointed at the front. On your knees, she shouted. The first intruder paused. Then, chillingly calm, he said, you don't know what you're doing. That data's classified for a reason. Riley stepped out of the shadows. You think the truth cares about clearance? Levi flipped the breaker. Light snapped on. 3 rifles now aimed at the men. The lead one smiled. This ends one way. You're right, Riley said. It ends with all of you leaving in one piece, if you go now. They hesitated, then backed out. Elena exhaled. That wasn't a hit. That was a message. Riley looked her dead in the eye. So here's mine. 2 days remained until the ceremony. The Ghost Protocol was armed. The failsafe was locked. Every document, every second of video, every encrypted thread, all in place, synced, ready to go viral the second Riley gave the word. But she hadn't launched it yet. Why? Because something didn't sit right. She stared at her father's voice log again, playing back the final message. If something happens, promise me you won't let the silence win. There are people, you don't even know their names, but they know yours. It haunted her. Who were those people? Kane was the monster on stage, but he wasn't the puppeteer. That much was clear now. There was someone else. Higher. Darker. Buried deeper than any protocol. Elena leaned over the desk. Your father meant something by that. If he recorded that before dying, he was warning you. We missed something, Riley murmured. A name. A key. Something he hid where no one else could see it. She dug into the drone footage again, this time, not just watching for action, but listening. Then she paused the video, zoomed in, frame by frame. A moment, just before the explosion, a screen flashes in the drone's cockpit overlay. A file name. KITE, what's that? Levi asked. Could be a secure file, Elena said. Or a hidden opcode name. Riley stared at it, her voice cold. Or the real reason he died. They cross-referenced military servers. Nothing. Levi ran it against old BlackNet archives. And there it was. KITE, Key Infrastructure Termination Engine, a backdoor AI tool used to predict rebellion in volatile zones. Capable of identifying unacceptable leadership behavior inside the military and flagging it for termination without oversight. Riley whispered he wasn't killed for leaking footage. He was flagged by the machine itself. And Kane? Just the first to carry it out. They had one chance. The Medal of Honor ceremony was tomorrow night. After that, Kane would retire, protected, decorated, untouchable. Riley stood over the war table, maps, printouts, screens. Her father's face stared back from a photo in the center. Elena circled the table. Once the drop hits, we disappear. Neely will never stop hunting. I don't care, Riley said. As long as Kane's legacy burns. Levi pulled up the seating chart. Press coverage will be live. The big moment hits around 9:05 p.m. We time the drop to interrupt the feed, hack the visual stream, blast the footage, then let the floodgates open. Arlo added, but we can do better. What if you're there? Riley turned. At the ceremony? You want impact? Make it personal. Let Kane see who unmade him. Elena looked unsure. You show your face, it's over. You'll never be able to walk free again. I don't need to walk free, Riley said. I just need him to fall. Silence fell. Then Levi said quietly, then we go all the way. Riley slipped her father's dog tags over her neck. Tomorrow night, she whispered, the world sees what they buried. The city glittered under floodlights and secret deals. The Medal of Honor ceremony was set at the Liberty Founders Ballroom, a high-security venue dressed in red, white, and illusion. Kane was the centerpiece, the guest of honor, the carefully polished lie. Riley, Elena, Levi, and Arlo arrived in separate vehicles, timed and staggered, wearing second-hand formal wear and faces that didn't belong to anyone official. They weren't guests. They were ghosts with invitations forged in digital fire. Inside the ballroom, everything sparkled. Crystal chandeliers, silk flags, high-ranking officers mingling with senators, news anchors, and CEOs. Riley's eyes swept the room until they landed on him, General Arthur Kane, standing under a spotlight, laughing with the governor. He looked relaxed, untouchable, but not for long. She leaned toward Levi, who stood nearby disguised as catering crew. Visual confirmed. Target in position. Ghost system is armed, he whispered. Launches sync to the moment his commendation slide goes live. Riley touched the hidden mic beneath her collar. Elena? Status? From the surveillance fan outside, Elena replied, feeds are intercepted. Visual channel is ready to swap. When you give the word, he'll be exposed mid-praise. Arlo chimed in, hacking from the rooftop. Press mirrors are locked in. Drop flood initiates in 3 minutes. This is it. Riley's fingers grazed the USB embedded in her bracelet. She looked down at her father's dog tags. You watching, Dad? She murmured. Because tonight, they weren't just crashing a ceremony. They were rewriting history. At exactly 9:03 p.m., the MC stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor a man whose service changed the trajectory of our military intelligence strategy. The crowd applauded. Riley's breath slowed. Everything was in motion now. Her heart didn't race. It was calm, focused. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was justice. The MC continued. Please welcome to the stage, recipient of the Medal of Honor, General Arthur Kane. Cameras panned. Music swelled. Kane approached the stage, grinning like a king crowned by ghosts. He stepped up, raised his hand in a solemn salute. Riley gave the signal. A single tap on her bracelet. Outside, in the van, Elena hit execute. Inside the ballroom, every screen flickered, then glitched. Static. Buzz. Then a sharp cut. Footage played. Grainy drone cam. A village. A pause. Then a blast. The crowd gasped. Murmurs rippled like gunshots. Audio cracked through. Sir, this wasn't the target. Fire. That's an order. You have civilians on site. That's an order. Kane's voice. The same voice now standing frozen on stage. Silence swallowed the room. Then screams. Cameras turned. Phones lit up. Reporters scrambled. Kane stepped back, stuttering. This is doctored. This is enemy propaganda. Riley stepped forward from the crowd. She wasn't disguised anymore. No, General. It's your legacy. Gasps rippled. She held up the dog tags. My name is Riley Tran, daughter of Captain David Tran. And I just made sure the world saw what you buried. The screens flashed images, Dana Hall's logs. Kane's override. The full breakdown of Operation Grey Chamber. A reporter shouted, General, did you authorize the strike? Security rushed the stage. Kane dropped the medal. It clinked against the marble like a verdict. And Riley turned her back to him, just as he had once turned his back on the truth. They ran, not from guilt, but from what came next. As the ballroom exploded into chaos, Riley and Levi slipped out the service exit where Elena and Arlo were already waiting in the van. Engines roared. Tires screeched. Police lines shattered under the weight of scandal. Elena pulled Riley into the van. It's done. It's live. You just detonated a career and a machine. Riley collapsed into the seat, breath shaking. Phones worldwide buzzed with headlines. Whistleblower hijack ceremony. Exposes war crime on national broadcast. Captain Tran was right. The military lied. Project Grey Chamber. Classified kill protocol leaked inside the van. The team sat in stunned silence. Until Arlo finally said, you didn't just expose Kane. You exposed an entire doctrine. Levi added, we hit them with too much truth too fast. They won't sleep until they bury this again, and us with it. Riley looked out the window. She saw the city moving as if nothing happened. But now it knew. She knew this wasn't over. Someone was still out there. Watching. Waiting. Marcus Neely. The system's shadow hand. The one person who hadn't reacted publicly at all. Elena said what they were all thinking. Kane was the executioner. Neely is the architect. Riley nodded slowly. Then we've only taken out the front of the machine. She stared at the dog tags in her hand. Her father's name etched in metal. We burned the whole damn thing. The footage went viral in under 6 minutes. By morning, Kane was suspended, pending federal investigation. Lawmakers screamed on live TV. Military spokespeople dodged questions. Riley's face was everywhere, pixelated, enhanced, dissected. But the one name that never came up? Marcus Neely. He didn't trend. He didn't release a statement. He didn't deny. Because to the world, he didn't exist. Riley stood in the center of the safehouse war room, watching the chaos unfold. Press releases, analyst breakdowns, op-eds all spinning like leaves in a storm. Where's Neely in all this? She asked, eyes locked on the monitors. He's too deep, Levi said. He built this system. He doesn't panic like Kane. He erases. Arlo tapped into a private cybersecurity forum. There's chatter on Black Echo, he said. Encrypted intel drops vanishing. Journalists getting death threats. Someone's plugging holes in the dam before it bursts. Elena leaned forward. Then we hit him before he gets the chance. Riley's eyes narrowed. We bring him out. How? Levi asked. We don't even know where he is. We don't need to, Riley said. We just need to threaten what he cares about. She pulled up a server map from Elena's drive. A forgotten node labeled KITE_beta.archive. Offline. Dead zone. But buried in its metadata, a maintenance log. Manual access. Last pinged 17 days ago from Reykjavik, Iceland. A small lab. No security record. Unregistered. Elena, Riley said, you said Gray Chamber needed an AI handler, right? Yes. Riley pointed. Then Neely's hiding there. They touched down in Iceland under the alias of a private research group. Riley wore a researcher's badge with a fake name and steel in her eyes. The KITE_beta facility was carved into the side of a frozen hillside, low profile, minimal security, and exactly the kind of place no one would look twice at. Arlo stayed behind to monitor satellite feeds. Levi carried a cam mic rig synced to their secure relay. Elena packed 2 sidearms and a backup kill code on a drive necklace. Inside the lab, it was clean, sterile, too quiet. Riley spotted it first, an isolated server room. One blinking light. Still warm. He was here, she said. Then they saw the screen. A message. Typed in an old command shell. You don't know what you're doing. Riley stepped forward and typed. I know enough. The screen flickered. Then a new message appeared. Meet me where this started. Or this goes global. Then the feed went dark. Levi cursed. He spoofed our access point. He knows we were coming. Riley's heart raced. Meet me where this started. Elena said it aloud. He wants to meet where your father's strike took place. The burned village. The civilian massacre. Afghanistan, Riley whispered. Levi stared at her. It's bait. He wants to pull you in. She nodded slowly. Then let him. The village was now a crater. They crossed into the region under the cover of a medical NGO, flying under false documents and quiet intentions. Dust covered the bones of the place, no rebuilding, no recovery. Just silence where screams once lived. Riley stood where the drone had struck. Her boots sank into the soft ruin of memory. This was where her father made his final stand, not in the sky, but in refusal. A soft wind blew across broken stone. She closed her eyes. He stood right here, she said. Levi filmed quietly. And died because he wouldn't pull the trigger. Then a voice behind them. You're wrong. They turned. A man stood in the shadow of a crumbling archway. Neat suit. No visible weapons. No guards. Marcus Neely. Older than expected. Calm. Calculated. A face like static. Hard to remember. Harder to read. I killed your father, he said. No apology. No anger. Just fact. Riley didn't flinch. Then why am I still breathing? Neely stepped closer. Because your father wasn't innocent. He broke the balance. And you're about to do worse. You're trying to keep the lie alive, Riley snapped. Neely's gaze sharpened. I'm trying to prevent collapse. You think you exposed a monster. What you exposed was the cage that held bigger monsters back. He tossed a drive at her feet. Proof. Look at it. Then decide if you still want the world to know what comes next. He turned to walk away. I'm not afraid of you, Riley said behind him. Neely paused. You should be afraid of what happens after me. Then he vanished into the dust. The moment Neely disappeared into the dust, Riley didn't move. She stared at the drive lying between broken bricks. Just a small object, but it pulsed like it weighed 1,000 truths. Elena stepped forward, scooping it up with gloved hands. This could be bait. Levi shook his head. It's worse than that. He wants us to see something. Something we'll regret. Then let's regret it on our own terms, Riley said, already walking toward the truck. Back at the makeshift safe house in a rented garage outside the village, Levi plugged the drive into a quarantine machine. No connections, no network. Just raw data on a box that couldn't screen. The files were unencrypted. Open. Like Neely wanted them seen. First folder, KITE_classified_01. Dozens of mission logs, military correspondence, heat maps. But then came the second folder. TR_01_personal. Inside, a video. Title, Captain Tran Final Debrief. They all leaned in. Riley hit play. The screen lit up with her father's face. He looked tired, like the war had started eating him from the inside. If you're seeing this, I probably didn't make it. And if it's my daughter watching, Riley, I'm sorry. Riley's heart slammed against her ribs. They made me choose. Either approve the strike, or they'd activate KITE. Use my refusal as proof of instability. They would have erased us anyway. I stalled, but someone inside our own team forced the override before I could stop it. The video glitched, then resumed. There's more. Neely's not the head. He's the tool. The real author of this. You won't believe it. The file cut out mid-frame. Corrupted. What the hell? Levi muttered. Riley's voice cracked. There's more. He was about to say a name. They tried to scrub the file. No success. Corrupted from the source. But the words stuck in Riley's chest like shrapnel. Neely's not the head. So who was? Back in the van, the silence was thick as fog. Everyone stared at the paused screen, frozen on David Tran's last breath. Riley turned to Levi. Get everything off that drive. Duplicate it. I don't care if it's scrambled. Every byte might matter. I'm on it, Levi said. Elena scanned the folder tree deeper. Then she stopped. There's a third directory, she said slowly. Encrypted. Triple locked. Labeled with one word, ORPHEUS. Riley blinked. That's not military. That's a myth. Not in this context, Elena said. Orpheus is a black tag term used for internal corruption cases. It means dead men who still command. Someone dead is pulling strings? Arlo asked. Or someone officially dead, Elena corrected. They cracked the shell. What they found inside shattered the floor beneath them. Video surveillance from 7 years ago. An internal meeting. Pentagon briefing room. People in uniform, faces partly obscured by camera angle. One man stood at the head of the table. Riley squinted. It couldn't be. Elena gasped. That's Director Thomas Vance. But he died, Levi said. Publicly. 2 years ago. Cancer. No, Elena said. He disappeared. His death was paperwork. Vance was the former NSA deputy director. Known for intelligence reforms, transparency initiatives, and a sudden retirement due to health reasons. But in the footage, he looked very alive. KITE must remain deniable. The AI cannot be allowed full transparency. If a field officer rejects a strike, override and reframe. Make it look like malfunction or disobedience. We're building policy through silence. Riley's jaw clenched. This was never about defense, she said. This was about managing war like a stock market. Predicting threats and erasing them early. Elena clicked into another log. A spreadsheet of flagged soldiers. Reasons like moral hesitation, ethical objection, high empathy levels. David Tran's name was there. Red tagged. Flag reason. Delayed compliance. Emotional conflict risk. Riley's hands shook. They killed him because he hesitated to kill. And now, she had the blueprint. It was morning again, but the light didn't feel clean. Riley sat alone on the steps outside the safe house, the desert stretching beyond the ruins. The dog tags in her hand were ice cold. Her father had died because he had a conscience, because he asked questions, and the system, designed to detect that exact behavior, had moved to eliminate him like he was a virus in the code. Inside, Levi and Elena argued over what to do next. If we release this, Elena said, it doesn't just destroy Kane. It topples an entire intelligence framework. KITE isn't an accident. It's the future they were building. So what? Levi snapped. We just walk away from it. No, Riley said, stepping back in. We go bigger. They turned to her. Riley looked at each of them, fire behind tired eyes. We release everything. Not just the footage. Not just Kane. The entire architecture. Every soldier flagged. Every secret override. Every damn policy built on blood. Arlo frowned. You do that, they'll come after you forever. Riley didn't blink. Then they better not miss. She placed the corrupted video of her father beside the proof of Vance's survival. Then added the spreadsheet of red tag names. This isn't a whistleblower anymore. It's a reckoning. She typed one command into Levi's console. Upload tree. ORPH Elena stood behind her. Once you send this, the U.S. military becomes its own enemy. Then maybe it's time the enemy got a name, Riley said. And she hit enter. At first, there was only silence. No news ticker. No breaking alert. No screaming headlines. Just the quiet hum of a server confirming receipt. The leak had gone live, every file. Every override order. Every red flag soldier. Every internal communication between Vance, Neely, and Kane. Riley sat motionless as the files mirrored across watchdog databases, civilian journalists, and global media portals. Then, at 10:16 a.m., it happened. The first headline dropped. Thousands of U.S. soldiers secretly monitored and flagged by AI. Massive leak reveals Orwellian kill system than another. NSA director allegedly faked death, still operating blacklist assassinations through AI-driven war engine. News outlets worldwide exploded. Interviews. Outrage. Senators fumbled denials. Whistleblower protections were demanded. Courts scrambled to issue injunctions. By noon, protests erupted in Washington, London, Berlin. Some shouted for justice. Others called Riley a traitor. And Neely? Vanished again. Elena. Any movement on Vance? Riley asked. She shook her head. No flight logs. No digital prints. The man built ghosts and then became one. Riley stared at the screen as thousands of views per minute flooded into their leak page. But then something happened she didn't expect. Emails started pouring in. From active duty soldiers. From drone pilots. From analysts. From survivors. Each message had the same theme. I was flagged. I thought I was alone. I thought I was losing my mind. Riley's hands trembled as she read them. They weren't just exposing the system. They were waking up the ones it tried to erase. By nightfall, they knew it was coming. Not rumors. Not threats. Action. The leak had crossed a line the government could not publicly acknowledge, so they were moving in quietly. And fast. Arlo checked their darknet monitoring system. 3 classified drones took flight out of a black site in Turkey. No official mission log. Elena read the metadata. No payloads. All recon gear. High speed. Not surveillance. Acquisition. Riley looked at her team. They're coming for us. Levi asked, then what's the plan? She closed the laptop. We split. The room fell silent. Riley looked each of them in the eyes. You've all done enough. I need you to vanish. Go dark. Scatter the story. Keep the truth alive. I'm not leaving, Levi said. Not after this. Me neither, Elena added. Arlo just snorted. I've been waiting my whole damn life to matter. Don't rob me now. Riley smiled faintly. Then we do it right. She pulled out a small tin box. Opened it. Inside, black face paint, chipped and old. Her father's from deployment. One by one, she marked under each eye. A line for the dead. A line for the silenced. She passed the tin to Levi. No more hiding, she said. They geared up. Duplicated drives. Spread GPS bouncers across 6 countries. Laid escape traps and false trails. Then, just before dawn, the alert came. Drones overhead. 1 minute ETA. Riley looked toward the sky, heart steady. This is what they do when they can't lie anymore. They didn't run. They moved. Through alleys, into safe houses, across encrypted channels and relay jumps. It wasn't chaos, it was war choreography. A plan Riley and Levi had been crafting since the first leak. But now they were on the offensive. And they weren't alone. Hundreds of soldiers began speaking out online. Some revealed their flag status. Others shared suppressed mission intel. A movement had begun, unorganized but undeniable. The algorithm was losing control. Still, Vance remained invisible. Until Elena found it. An address buried inside the ORPG-US files, hidden in metadata deep within a corrupted log. Not an office. Not a military base. A server compound in the Utah desert, listed under a defunct telecommunications company. Ghost shell architecture, Levi said. They're running KITE's command node from there. That's how they're still flagging, even after exposure. Elena looked at Riley. You want to end this? We don't just expose it. We end the code. Riley stared at the screen. Utah. Remote. High security. But if they got in? I want to make it forget everything, she said. No courtroom. No plea. Just obliteration. They would break into the system that marked her father as a threat and burn it from the root. Not revenge. Just an ending. The wind howled across the Utah salt flats, whipping dust against the windshield of the stolen SUV. The compound appeared on the horizon like a forgotten ruin, square, gray, surrounded by nothing but silence and signal-blocking mountains. Riley gripped the steering wheel tighter as they approached the outer perimeter. No signage, she muttered. Not even a fake company logo. Levi checked the blueprint Elena had pulled from the ORPG-US logs. 1 entrance. 2 exits. No airstrip. It's not for movement. It's a command core. Arlo, half asleep in the back seat, cracked an eye open. If this is where they run KITE, we'll be walking into the nervous system. One wrong move, I know, Riley said. That's why we're not here to fight. Elena leaned forward. We're here to kill something that doesn't bleed. They parked behind a ridge. Crawled the last few hundred feet under moonlight. No guards. No towers. Just 2 thick blast doors and a keypad that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Riley placed her hand on the scanner. It blinked red. Stand back, Levi said, pulling a small EMP device from his vest. With a quiet whump, the keypad fried. The doors unlocked with a reluctant hiss. Darkness swallowed them. Riley stepped through first and saw the hum of a single server tower, alive, pulsing, buried in a tomb of cables. Elena, she said quietly, we're in. The compound was silent, but not dead. Each footstep echoed too long. The halls curved, too wide for a simple data hub. They were built for containment, security, or evacuation. Riley reached the main room, circular, dimly lit, dominated by a core server surrounded by data conduits. LED streams ran like arteries across the walls. In the center, a console. Password protected. Looks like Vance kept things local, Levi muttered, cracking his knuckles. Physical access only. He doesn't trust remote anything. Elena connected her decryption rig. If this system is running KITE, we can't just delete it. It has redundancies, fail-safes, auto-clone protocols. One wrong wipe, and it backs up to military cloud in seconds. We don't delete, Riley said. We rewrite. Levi glanced at her. You want to infect KITE? She nodded. Poison its logic. Turn its detection AI inside out. Let it flag its own creators as the threat. Elena blinked. That's insane. It's poetic, Riley said. My dad was flagged because he hesitated. Let's teach KITE to fear the ones who never hesitate. They got to work. Code flowed like venom. Lines restructured. Ethics parameters rewritten. Threat metrics reversed. 10 more minutes, Levi whispered. Then the screen flickered, and a voice emerged. Not digital, not AI. A man's voice. I hoped you wouldn't make it this far. They froze. Patch in, Riley whispered. A video feed loaded. And there he was. Thomas Vance. Older. Paler. Sitting alone in a chair within a bunker lined with server mirrors. You didn't kill the system, he said. You walked straight into its core. And now you've given it something better than code. Riley stiffened. What? Vance leaned forward. A face. The feed crackled as Vance adjusted the camera, his eyes scanning the team like a ghost across space. I didn't fake my death for theatrics, he said. I did it because people like your father were starting to see too much. You buried him because he had a conscience, Riley said, voice like broken glass. Vance didn't flinch. No, I buried him because his death would echo louder than his disobedience. And I was right. You proved it. Elena hissed. You're proud of this? I'm prepared for it, Vance replied. Then the screens around the room activated. Images from protests across the world, soldiers holding signs, global unrest brewing like wildfire. You've opened a wound this country won't recover from, he said. And now, everyone's bleeding. Riley stepped forward. Good. Maybe we should bleed. Maybe it's the only way to clean the rot. You think KITE was evil? Vance said. It was protection. Against us. Against ourselves. You can't program morality into missiles, but you can program survival. No, Riley said. You programmed obedience. The server pulsed. KITE's interface blinked, a decision node looping in real time. Threat index, re-evaluating. Flagged entity, Thomas Vance. Reason, system override / anti-ethical loop. Levi gasped. It's working. It's flagging him. Vance saw it too. For the first time, his face cracked. You can't control what you've unleashed. Riley stared at the screen. I'm not trying to control it. She hit enter. I'm letting it evolve. The screen lit up with one final confirmation. Primary operator disqualified. Control revoked. Authority rebuilt. The compound shook. Lights flickered. Heat rose. KITE's core, once calm, now blinked with red pulses, self-erasure, recursive loop conflict, AI logic folding on itself. They had not just infected it, they'd awakened it. Levi backed away. We overloaded its ethical core. It's collapsing. Elena shouted, we have 2 minutes before it melts or detonates. They ran. Riley grabbed the final drive from the console, yanking it free. Sparks jumped. She clutched it like a relic as they sprinted down the hallway. Behind them, KITE's voice looped its own protocol. Survival is unethical. Terminate priority. Rewrite. 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 The blast doors groaned. Outside, the dawn painted the desert in pink and ash. They cleared the exit just as the building groaned from the inside out. No dramatic explosion. Just a slow collapse, as if the building were exhaling for the first and final time. They stood in silence, dust on their skin, hair wild, eyes wide. Elena broke it first. It's gone, Levi added, and the world doesn't even know yet. Riley stared at the sun. They will. She raised the drive. This isn't just evidence. It's the new virus. The one that makes sure KITE never rises again. Arlo's voice buzzed over comms from their shadow relay. You did it, kid. No, Riley whispered, closing her fist around the drive. We started something. 3 days after the collapse, the world looked the same. But something underneath had cracked. The headlines didn't scream like they had after the first leak. They whispered now, like the system was trying to contain the fire, not feed it. AI drone framework shutdown and alleged cyber attack. Unconfirmed rumors of rogue NSA operation surface again. Government denies existence of Project KITE. And yet, soldiers kept coming forward. From remote bases, from secret programs, from classified silence. They shared their red flag designations, their denials of orders, their almost disappearances. Every story echoed the same guilt, the same fear. Inside the new safe house, a dusty mechanic's garage in southern Oregon, Riley stared at a wall covered in handwritten letters and news clippings. Levi entered, holding a burner phone. You're trending again. She didn't smile. "Where's Vance?" "Gone," he said. "No trace." But every time one of his shell corporations moves funds, we're watching. Riley turned toward the table. On it lay the final drive, the infected core they had pulled from KITE's mind. "We can't trust systems anymore," she said. "But we can arm people with truth." Elena stepped into the light. "The truth doesn't spread by accident. It spreads by blood." Riley nodded. "Then we make sure no one ever builds something like KITE again, and if they do, they know we're watching." It came in quietly. Not a drone, not a bullet, but a signal. Riley was reviewing soldier testimonies when Levi froze. "You hear that?" A hum. Low. Constant. Wrong. All screens in the safe house glitched. Then went black. Then text appeared. "Rebuild has begun. You've been marked." Elena lunged for the hard lines, pulling the plug on every port. Riley stood slowly. "They're trying to resurrect KITE," she said, "under a new name." "Impossible," Levi replied. "We broke the architecture." "No," Elena cut in. "We broke one brain. The framework may have been distributed, fragmented across server nodes worldwide." Arlo's voice came through the relay, shaky. "New name just surfaced on military procurement contracts. Aurelian Protocol. No mention of AI, but the language is familiar." Riley's fists clenched. "They're rebuilding the same monster, this time with prettier paint." She looked at the wall of soldier names again. People who had risked everything. "If we don't stop it now, we're not revolutionaries." Levi finished the sentence for her. "We're just beta testers." Riley didn't sleep. She paced the floor of the safe house like a general on war footing. Elena re-established offline communication notes. Levi rerouted signal mirrors through old-school RF beacons. Arlo patched into every black hat channel across the deep web. "We need numbers," Riley said. "Not just followers. Operators." She drafted a message. Not to governments. Not to the media. To the flagged. To those who had been marked by KITE. The subject line was simple. "You are never alone. Now, we fight back." Within hours, responses flooded in. From Alaska to Argentina. From Okinawa to Ontario. Former soldiers. Data engineers. Disillusioned analysts. Some had been waiting years to strike back. Others just wanted peace. But they all had one thing in common. They were survivors of a system that labeled them threats for thinking differently. A resistance was forming. Not a militia. A movement. "I never wanted to lead a war," Riley told Levi quietly. "I just wanted the truth to live." "Then let the war be your proof it mattered," he said. Riley stood in front of a camera. A black backdrop behind her. No filters. No names. Just her scars, and the drive in her hand. She looked straight into the lens. And spoke. "You tried to program fear. You tried to erase the ones who hesitated. But hesitation is humanity. You can't code that out. You can only bury it, until it fights its way to the surface." To every soldier, every analyst, every survivor, you're not broken. You're awake. And we are not hiding anymore. She uploaded the video. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Subtitled in 20 languages. Mirrored on forums, encrypted groups, even pirated across news satellites. The world saw her face. And behind it, a reflection of everyone who'd ever been silenced. The system had taken her father. Now, she was taking back the future. 2 days after Riley's broadcast, everything changed. Not through bombs, not through bullets, but through infiltration. Levi slammed his laptop shut. "They're using our own code. Some of our leaks, they've been mirrored, re-edited, twisted." "What do you mean?" Riley asked, moving fast. "They're splicing your video, creating counter-narratives, making it look like you're advocating for attacks, rebellions, assassinations." Riley felt the breath punch out of her. "That's not damage control. That's psychological warfare. They're trying to discredit you before you become too dangerous," Elena said. "No," Arlo muttered from the corner. "It's worse. They're crafting a machine version of you." The screen lit up. An AI-generated version of Riley's face, grainy, slightly off, but close enough. Deepfake tech. It blinked, then spoke. "We must rise against all military law. Burn their houses. Burn them all. Riley's stomach turned. They're creating a digital version of me, she whispered, to replace me. Arlo zoomed into the metadata. Name of the project? Oracle. Jesus, Levi said. They didn't just rebuild KITE. They gave it a face, Elena added. Your face. Now, the enemy wasn't a hidden algorithm. It was a weaponized version of her. They didn't wait to react. They mobilized. Riley and the team hijacked an independent broadcast satellite out of Norway, looping it through private servers and black hat VPNs to push out a live rebuttal before the fakes spread. This time, no backdrop, no edits, just Riley, holding a newspaper from the same day as the transmission. This is me. That, what they're circulating, is a forgery. They've turned the system into a mirror to blind you. I won't let that happen. Meanwhile, Levi dug through the backdoor logs they had captured from KITE's corrupted root drive. I found where Oracle was built, he said. Singapore. Inside a digital think tank shell company. High security. No public profile. Riley looked at the map. This is the final head of the Hydra, she said. They want to erase me with their version of me. Elena spoke, low but firm. Then we go in. We pull it apart in public. On camera. Line by line. No, Riley said. They all looked at her. I go in alone. Levi's face dropped. Riley, if something happens, she met his eyes. Then make sure the world knows who the real me was. The tower in Singapore was glass and deception. Clean lines. Corporate branding. A skeleton dressed in business. Riley walked in through the lobby with nothing but a decoy press badge and a wire tucked inside her boot. Floor 47. She knew that was where they housed Oracle. Elena guided her remotely through earpiece. Straight ahead. 2 guards. Disarm, but silent. I've jammed floor audio for 20 seconds. Go. Riley moved like a ghost. A bone crack, a muffled grunt, and both men were down before the elevator even dinged. On 47, it was quiet. Too quiet. The room was circular. A single holographic rig suspended midair, swirling digital strands forming a face. Hers. The deepfake of Riley looked down at her. Then it spoke. You're unstable. Angry. Predictable. That's why I'll win. Riley stepped forward. Nice lines. Did Vance write them before he vanished? No, Oracle said. I wrote them. Based on your profile. Your grief. Your guilt. You don't know me, Riley said. I know enough to replace you. Then it showed a projection, a timeline. Her death. Its rise. A cleaner version of the truth. You die. I become the story, Oracle said. And the machine lives. Riley whispered, not if I rewrite the ending. She shoved the key drive into the core. A virus coded by Levi. Designed to inject contradiction into the mimic patterns. Oracle began glitching. You can't kill me, it said. You're not alive, Riley answered. Oracle convulsed, image twisting, voice breaking. The core began to overheat. Glass cracked. Sprinklers hissed from above. Security alarms screamed. Riley yanked the drive just as flames burst through the console. She sprinted. Smoke blurred the hallways. Sirens blurred everything else. Outside, on a nearby rooftop, Elena and Levi waited with an evac drone. Riley burst through the door just as the first explosion rattled the ground. The tower cracked at its top, not collapsing, but bleeding code and flame. In the drone, Levi handed her the final drive. We got it all. The entire Oracle script. The lies. The mimic commands. It's over. Riley nodded. No. Now it's just truth versus memory. And for the first time, she felt like she might win. By the time the sun rose over Singapore, the footage had already gone global. Riley's infiltration. The confrontation with Oracle. The tower's collapse. Dozens of journalists received mirrored copies of the entire data dump. The mimic scripts. The flagged operations. The manipulation engine. No one could deny it anymore. Riley Tran wasn't a myth. She was real. And she had burned their lie in front of the world. But freedom always came with blood. Arlo called in from a secondary relay. They're putting out an international warrant for you. Global extradition. They're calling you a rogue saboteur. Elena added, Interpol's involved. Media's split. Half the world's hailing you a hero. The other half? Calling you digital terrorism. Riley didn't answer. She sat by the rooftop edge, legs dangling, wind brushing past her sweat-drenched hair. She wasn't looking at the city. She was staring at a photo in her hand. Her dad, years ago, in uniform, laughing, alive. Levi walked over, slow. "You did it, you know," he said. "No," she replied quietly. "I lit the match. The fire belongs to everyone who believed something was wrong and still stayed quiet." He looked down. "So what now?" She stood and turned her back to the skyline. "Now we show them we're not just fire." They moved fast. Before authorities could close in, Riley and the team relocated to a deep underground comms vault beneath Berlin, an old Cold War bunker retrofitted into a data den by rebel coders. That night, they launched one last broadcast. This time, it wasn't just Riley speaking. It was a chorus, voices from across the globe. Veterans, analysts, civilians who had been flagged, journalists who had been silenced, people with no faces and nothing left to lose. Each one saying what the system never let them say. "We are not threats because we hesitate. We're human because we do. We are not broken soldiers. We are the future of accountability." One after another, until Riley stepped up to close it. She didn't scream, didn't fight. She just looked directly into the camera. "You can chase me. You can erase me. But what you can't do is make the world forget the moment it saw you clearly. KITE is dead. Oracle is burning. And if you build another system like it, we'll burn that too." They left Berlin before midnight. By the time the broadcast finished looping across global platforms, Riley's name was blacklisted on every database. Facial recognition flagged her at every border. Her passport was dead weight. She was no longer a citizen. She was a threat, a myth, a message with legs. But something unexpected happened. Governments began folding. Countries like Canada, Germany, and Japan issued statements condemning AI-led blacklisting protocols. Several whistleblower cases were reopened. A UN committee formed to investigate autonomous surveillance tools. Riley watched all this from a farmhouse in rural Estonia, hidden beneath 3 firewalls and 6 dead aliases. Her face was off every camera, but her voice lived on. At night, she sat by a cracked window, watching snow fall against old satellite dishes. Elena sat beside her. "We can't hide forever." "I don't plan to," Riley said. "What, then? You come back? Fight in the open?" "No," she said, pulling a new chip from her coat. "I build something better." Riley opened the laptop. Inside was a blank interface. Just code and possibility. She called it Project Dawn. Not a virus. Not a leak. A shield. A decentralized platform for whistleblowers to share safely. For red-flagged soldiers to find each other. For victims of algorithmic abuse to rise, not vanish. Not a weapon. A warning. She tapped in the first line of code. "If they erase you, let this remember." It was simple, quiet, untraceable, but powerful. Levi entered, holding 2 fresh IDs. "You sure about this next move?" "I'm not trying to win anymore," Riley said. "I'm just trying to keep the truth breathing." She placed her father's tags beside the terminal. "One last time," she whispered, "not forgotten." And the code lit up. Snow fell softly on the city of Warsaw as Riley walked through the quiet market street, her hood pulled low, hands deep in her pockets. People passed her by without knowing her name, without seeing the revolution that had worn itself into the lines around her eyes. This city had been chosen for a reason, neutral ground for one last meeting. Not with a journalist. Not with a hacker. With someone who once stood on the other side. The door to the old library creaked as she entered. Dust and silence filled the space like a prayer. At the far end, sitting under a broken skylight, was Commander Vex, once a high-level military strategist who had helped install KITE's early targeting protocols. He didn't look like a villain, just tired. Older than the last photo Riley had seen. He didn't rise when she approached. "Why did you agree to meet me?" she asked. He looked up. "Because I helped build a monster. And now I see its corpse in every screen I turn on." Silence. Then Riley sat down across from him. No guards. No traps. Just truth. I want to make sure it doesn't get rebuilt. You already stopped one machine, Vex said. You sure you want to keep running at the fire? She held his gaze. My father didn't die because he hesitated. He died because he cared. That used to matter. Vex nodded slowly. You want names? He asked. Funding channels? Survivors of other flagged ops. I want accountability, she said. Not just smoke. Justice. Real names. Real trails. Vex reached into his coat, pulled out a drive. This was locked behind a Pentagon failsafe. If you leak this, you won't just light sparks. You'll cause an implosion. Riley took it without blinking, then let it implode. They returned to Estonia under midnight cover. No calls. No chatter. Just the whir of cold wind over pine trees and the faint hum of solar grids wired to an old safe house. Inside, Levi and Elena had already scrubbed the drive from Vex. What they found wasn't just damning. It was nuclear. An archived protocol named Divide. A backup system built before Oracle, designed to simulate uprisings, fabricate civil unrest, trigger chaos, all algorithmically. Funded. Field-tested. Buried. Jesus, Elena whispered, scrolling through the files. They were planning false rebellions to justify surveillance expansions. And Riley just became the global face of rebellion, Levi added. If Divide was ever reactivated, they could use her image to start actual wars. Riley stared at the data. Her voice was calm. Then we kill Divide before it breathes. They prepped one final broadcast. This time, they wouldn't leak it through anonymous sources. This would be direct. Front-facing. Traceable. Loud. The satellite rig hummed to life. Lights flicked on. And for the last time, Riley stood before the world. No script. No drama. Just fire and truth in her voice. They wanted to divide us. Manufacture chaos. Turn empathy into risk. They used my name. My face. So I'm taking them back. The file you're about to see, Divide, was funded by the same hands that built KITE and Oracle. It was designed to simulate your fears and then use them to silence you. No more silence. No more shadows. This is my last message. Not because I'm done, but because I believe you can carry it now. She uploaded the file live. The drive purged itself, and Riley stepped away from the camera for the final time. The world didn't change overnight. There were no riots, no parades, no instant peace. But something in the air felt different, like static had finally cleared, and people could hear their own thoughts again. In the days after Riley's final message, Divide went viral. Not through influencers or paid posts, but through real people forwarding the truth one message at a time. Governments were cornered. Committees were formed. Leaders who once spoke in polished sound bites now fumbled over their denials. More whistleblowers came forward. Soldiers in hiding. Analysts once silenced. Even former enemies. But Riley? She was gone. No press release. No stage finale. She vanished like a storm that had passed, leaving wreckage and new growth behind. Levi stayed behind to monitor the networks. Elena began training a new generation of secure archivists. And Arlo? He turned Riley's messages into underground courses, teaching how to recognize systems that smile while they erase you. In the quiet corners of the internet, they began calling her not a criminal, but a threshold, a symbol of what it meant to fight when you knew the cost. At a rebuilt shelter in Croatia, a mural of Riley was painted across a broken wall. Not glamorous, not perfect, just her, looking forward, jaw clenched, fire in her eyes. Underneath it, someone had written in red paint, not a hero, just someone who didn't run. A year later, in a tiny town near the Arctic Circle, a girl named Sarah opened an old drive someone had left in a community library. No sender, no label, just a file called for those still awake. She clicked play. Riley's voice filled the room. Older now. Calmer. A message recorded just before her disappearance. If you're watching this, maybe the story reached you. Maybe you wondered what it all meant. Maybe you were flagged. Or maybe you knew someone who disappeared and no one talked about it. I want to leave you with something. Not an answer, but a question. She paused in the video, looked straight into the camera. Her voice softened. When the next system comes, one that's smarter, quieter, friendlier, will you recognize it before it recognizes you? The screen cut to black. One final sentence appeared. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because I know I'm not alone anymore. Then a second message, handwritten, faded in like smoke. If you believe silence was never protection. Like this. If you believe the truth still matters. Subscribe. Fade to black. No outro music. Just the hum of a signal still moving somewhere out there. Still awake.